Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to have you here at USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Hello to all of our friends at E360 TV. Hello to our new friends at Roku. And hello to our brand new friends at Amazon Fire. Woo, we are sizzling hot as we continue to grow. So thank you for following us. Thank you so much for your support. Hello to our friends watching on Instagram, as well as all the other social media platforms. Our show today is a woman's prerogative, and we have a very interesting topic that I'm excited to explore with my dear friend Jacalyn Kerbeck, who is here with me today. Our other panelists are not here, and I will take complete responsibility for it because of the time change that we had here in the States, and I didn't realize they didn't have it there yet. So we're actually an hour earlier. So let's welcome the woman herself, the Harley Street stress expert. She's helping people bust their stress all over the world. Welcome, Jacalyn.
Woohoo!
Yeah, baby, bust it.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you. We have a hello already from someone on YouTube. Hello, Kim Bugwee Rogers. Nice to have you with us.
Hello.
Hello. So yes, I'm taking full responsibility for it. Thank you for letting me know that you don't have the time change there in the UK. I don't know if New Zealand does, but I know for MARISKA, since we had the change, it's very early there. So she's not going to be joining us today either. Yeah, I'm not aware of what's going on everywhere, and I should be. So anyway, Jacalyn, I would love to talk with you today. Our topic is, I know what is holding me back. This is my plan of action. Now, you are a certified therapist. You've taken so many courses. You have so many certifications in so many areas. And I know that people come to you and probably talk about these types of things or they get into it. But today, you and I are getting into it. So that's going to be a little different, right?
It sure is.
So tell our audience a little bit about how you help people bust your stress. I mean, when you think about it, bust your stress, what does that mean and how do you help people with that?
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. I help people bust their stress by identifying the root causes that create the stress, whether it manifests in the body physically, emotionally, mentally, or behaviorally. And behaviorally, it can be a relationship that's not working. Physically, it can be a symptom such as low back pain, neck pain, headaches, not sleeping. Mentally, it can be anxiety, stress, depression. Or from a physical perspective, a lot of people complain that they're not sleeping. And that's a really big deal because many people that are complaining about these types of symptoms don't generally feel that they're stressed. They're usually saying, oh, I've got this and this going on, or I've got this challenge in this relationship, but they don't feel they're stressed. And that's how it's manifesting in the body. It's manifesting in the mind, the body, and their behaviors in their relationships and their activities because the mind and body is connected. How do I help people? I help people recognize, become aware of what is going on in their world because the symptom usually presents and they get caught up in the symptom in trying to solve the symptom. And I just take them back to look at what's going on in their life so that I can identify the root cause. And I do it through a really, really simple, quick and easy process. My results with clients are fast, they're to the point. And once you become aware of the symptom and what's causing it, what is the issue that you're not handling in your life, and you won't realize it because the consciousness that you created the problem, you can't resolve it in the same state of consciousness. And I help people break through the pattern that's creating their repeating symptoms, and that releases emotion and moves them into a state of peace, wellness, and calm.
Absolutely brilliant. And as I've mentioned before, Caroline has helped me in so many ways. She is an expert, a true professional. So I highly recommend that you reach out to her. Let's put up that contact information again. You can call her, you can email her, and we'll go through all of that again at the end of the show. So just based on what you were discussing, really is in great alignment with our topic today, because stress can hold you back. Anxiety can hold you back. Fear can hold you back. There's so many things that can stop us. And what I found is, for me, in my current state, my current situation, is the only thing stopping me is me. I have no one to blame it on and say because of her, because of him, because it's basically me. How do you feel? Do you find that it's sometimes in your life you have put it on someone else? The reason why you can't do X, Y, and Z is because you have to take care of him or her, or answer to him or her?
That's exactly right, Dr. Jacalyn. You wouldn't believe how many times we kind of point the finger out at someone else saying it's your fault that I can't do this, or it's the economy, or it's with us, past people in politics, you did this, you created this mess. And when you're youing and actually pointing your finger outwards to the other person, you're devolving responsibility and control in terms of being able to solve the problem. So as soon as you say it's your fault, it's someone else's fault, it's the economy, it's the politics, it's the war, it's the this, it's the weather, as soon as you start talking about it, something else or someone else, you literally take away the control and the responsibility. And then that puts you in the place of being subject to what you're complaining about. And so it actually creates more of what you're not happy with. And so the best way to do it, to overcome it, is to take responsibility. Now, it might be so easy to say, it's the politician's fault, it's the taxes, it's my bank, it's your fault in terms of the relationship or the family situation. And it's really easy to do that unless you've had some kind of training, or you're seeing a therapist or a coach or a mentor. They will say, what can you do to change your situation? What actions can you take? And the first thing is to step into a state of awareness. When you're in awareness, then you can decide what to do and how to move forward. You can't move forward if you're blaming someone else.
I love what you just said there. That was so powerful. And I know our audience can definitely take away a lot of gems from that. Something I shared before, which I just want to bring up, when I was working in the family business many, many, many decades ago, we were in the car business, and I would say to my dad, well, I didn't sell any cars because it was snowing. It was supposed to snow. It was sunny. Who wants to buy a car when it's sunny? It's raining. People aren't coming out today. It's January. People are getting over December. There's always an excuse. And the bottom line is that you're not selling anything because you're not doing anything, because you're waiting for people to come to you instead of you taking action. So that was a big wake-up call for me. And I know we didn't get into strategies and tips, but one of the things that I find myself doing more and more, and I'd love to have your professional opinion about this, is when I'm in a situation where I don't feel like I have the control and things are starting to come up, I just let the other person say whatever it is. If they're saying something about me is wrong or something, I just say, okay, yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I don't even try to overturn or defend myself. So when I look at what's holding me back, that could be holding me back in that maybe I'm not being confident enough or standing up for myself, as opposed to not wanting drama.
Oh, conflict. So you're avoiding conflict. And
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I will do my best to avoid conflict by not saying anything or just not showing up. That's the other thing I will do. I will disappear or go quiet to avoid a confrontation or a conflict situation. I can see you smiling. And that is something, it's so easy to do, to just kind of be silent, disappear, or just not be quite there when they're coming up. And it is a strategy. And it's a strategy that will is essentially move the other person to keep coming at you. Because when you go silent and you retreat, the energy of the dance that we create, so there's other things going on apart from what you can see straight up, is that the energy dance is that when you retract, the other person comes forward. So you take a couple of steps back and the other person comes forward again a few steps. And so then they are right in your face. So it is about, when you retract, the person will keep coming to you. You can see this in a situation of a dating situation, for instance, where the guy may be, you know, sort of getting close, and so he's taken a few steps forward in the bar with you, and you're not feeling comfortable, so you'll take a few steps back. And you could, when you observe other people, you can see it, and you can see this in business situations, in terms of the physicality, and you can also see it online when people are avoiding being seen on a Zoom call, for instance. They won't show themselves on their cameras. So there are many different ways, even in our online world, where people will not be seen. They'll show up, they'll be there in terms of not on audio, not on camera, online, but they're not showing themselves because they don't want to be there entirely. And I feel that we are in a world now that we can get away with, in inverted commas, not being fully present. And this is an interesting strategy for people about taking a step back and backing away, which will make the person that's doing the Zoom call or the training, well, it'd be great if you could turn on your cameras, but they don't want to turn on the cameras because they haven't really prepared to be present.
I know exactly what you're saying. And sometimes it's so obvious. And also, you don't have to be paying attention if you don't have your camera. It could be, hey, doing whatever it is you want to do, but at least you showed up. And in those cases, I've one or two times done that because I just left an exercise class or spinning and my hair was soaking wet. And then I turned my camera on because I thought, you know what, it's not right to be on a call and not be present. But I want to go back to something that you said about avoiding confrontation, because when we think about, I know what's holding me back. If you and I are in a relationship, personally, professionally, whatever it is, and you come to me, and every time you come to me, I pretty much beat you down, or I pretty much put you down, or I don't listen to you, or I interrupt you, or I double talk you, and you have to come and tell me something about action that you want to take, you already know what you're going to get pretty much. By the way, you wouldn't be getting this from me, but in this scenario, so how would you react then, knowing how I'm going to treat you?
Put it in writing.
I like that. That's good. That's really good.
Because then when you put it in writing, or you send a voice message, that's the other way. So that voice notes, I know that you really like your voice notes. I'm still not, I'm still not into the groove of voice notes because I'm not very specific. But when I write, then I can be very specific. You know, sort of that we are in a culture and a society now where voice notes is the thing. They can't interrupt with a voice note, and they have to listen to the message. And they can't talk you down or over talk you when you've left a voice note or when you've left a written message. They have to read it or they have to listen to it.
Yeah, I really love that. That's a great idea. Now, I do want to say that I had my hand slapped figuratively by someone because I was leaving voice notes. This is a couple of years ago, and the person didn't like them because they couldn't remember what was in them, and they said they'd rather that I have a face-to-face with them, which isn't always possible. It's nice, but it's not always possible. Now, here's the other side. I am very curious about other people's opinions. So I like to debate. I think it's cool. Like, I like to have a nice debate, but there have to be boundaries for the debate. And yet, at the same time, I don't like drama. So if you tell me that the sky is falling and I think the sky is not falling, I want to hear, why do you think the sky is falling? And I'll have a nice chat with you about that. But if you start telling me something about me personally, you don't like my hair, instead of going back and forth, I'm just going to say, okay, thank you for sharing that. I understand. I might go cry, but I'm not going to debate. So how are those scales being weighed in that example?
I love your expression. Thank you for sharing. It's a it's a nice coachy expression. Thank you for sharing means that you've heard, you've listened, you're not making any comment or judgment about it. It means that what the person has shared has been listened to and heard without getting into that confrontational, conversation of, well, I don't agree with you. Thank you for sharing is something they've shared a perspective which you may not agree with. And at the same time, they feel heard. I personally don't really like somebody saying thank you for sharing, because I'm a coach too, and it kind of really annoys me a little bit because I understand why they've said it. And at the same time, I do my best to take myself out of knowing this stuff. And when somebody does say thank you for sharing, they're genuinely saying thank you for sharing. It just annoys me. From my perspective, I feel that when you say something like thank you for sharing, or you've made your point and the other person doesn't agree, one of the things that I would share with them is, I have some different views. I feel it's at this point, it's better to agree to disagree.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I love that. I want to give an example, and I'm going to completely change the example so it has nothing to do with what actually happened. But I recently had a situation. I was interested in doing something, and I reached out to another person and I said, I'd really like to bake chocolate cakes for your organization. And the person said, you know what? We actually need someone to bake these chocolate cakes. So why don't you come on board? We'd love to have you. So then the person said, in addition to baking the chocolate cakes, we need someone to make lemon meringue pie. And I said, well, I don't really want to make lemon meringue pie. I don't know how good I'd be at making lemon meringue pie. I didn't really take any courses on the lemon meringue pie. And the person said, well, just give it a shot. We'll put you in for baking chocolate cakes one day and making lemon meringue pies the next day. So every time I had to go and bake the lemon meringue pies, I felt really uncomfortable because it wasn't in my wheelhouse. And I thought there must be some reason why this opportunity has been presented. So continue doing it. So very recently, I was in the kitchen where I was baking these things, and the head chef came in, the head baker, and said, I want to sample your baking. I said, fantastic. So the person went right for the lemon meringue pie. And I could just feel that energy that this person was not happy with my lemon meringue pie. And so I said, after the person finished, I said, do you have any feedback? And the person said, oh, yes, I do. And the person basically ripped me into shreds, which wasn't the sandwich approach where say something nice or constructive, then give the constructive. Then it was basically, this lemon meringue is the worst pie I've ever seen. So the reason I bring it up is yes, you know what? You're right. I totally agree. Everything you said is right. And then when the person finished, I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to remind you, I told you, I don't like to bake lemon meringue pies. It's not one of my specialties. And then the person felt really glad. They said, well, great. You're not going to be baking them anymore. Thank you.
Whoa.
So that's basically the way I dealt with that. So when I read this title, I know what's holding me back. What was holding me back in that case was I wanted to be humble and I wanted to show respect to the other person instead of letting the other person know, I told you from the beginning, I told you, because what's the point of that? And then of course, after the conversation was over, I just started thinking, what was I to take away from that? What was the key learning about that? So in that scenario of planning of action and what's holding me back, what might you have done differently if you were the baker?
Well, I used to be a baker and confectioner, and I make brilliant meringue pie.
I love it.
That was what I was smiling about all the way through, and I can make great chocolate cake too. Not that I do it anyway.
Oh,
I digress.
It's funny.
What I would do is, what you've been given is an opportunity. That's what that sounds like. Somebody's given you an opportunity to have a go at something that they feel that you could do because you've done something well in another area. Even though you've not felt comfortable and you've said it's not your specialism, you've had a go. And I feel that that is a great thing to do, because opportunities are around us all of the time. And it might be that that might have worked really, really well, but you wouldn't have known until you had a go. And certainly I've experienced having a go at things, even on this platform, many times on this platform, having a go at things, and sometimes they don't work. They seriously do not work at all after I've spent a lot of time. And then there's other times that it really works, and I feel really amazingly optimistic, and I feel that I've gained a new skill. So I would say that having a go at the opportunities is a good thing. And if somebody is going to demolish you, that's more about their stuff, not yours, because they could have handled it differently by saying, if you'd have done this, and this way, this way, this way, this way, you would have had a great class. And if the person is just going to demolish you and tell you all the bad things, it might be a place where you can turn around and say, can you tell me what I could have done to have made this class better? Because clearly you're an expert and I'm still here learning, and I would love to know how I could have made a better job of this. And when people are giving you very negative feedback, sometimes it's really cool. They love it when you turn around and ask them for their advice, because they're trying to administer their authority and their superiority over you by telling you what's wrong. So ask them what they would suggest that you do, because that will make them feel differently and it will change the energy of the situation.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Thank you. What I didn't mention in the baking example was that the other people who had tasted the lemon meringue pie loved it, and they all had great things to say about it. So it was very confusing, because you have a group saying, we like this lemon meringue pie, and then the other person saying, I don't like it, and you didn't use the right pan, and it wasn't in the oven long, et cetera, et cetera. So it is interesting, but we never know what's going on in someone else's mind. So we can only be accountable for our own behavior. And that's why in this title, if I know what's holding me back, this is my plan of action. If we have a plan, then we can be prepared. So we don't have to take things personally. And today I was not prepared for information that was given, but because of my training and because of doing what it is I do, I sort of put on a mask, which, you know, we talk about dropping the mask, but I put a mask on so that the other person could express themselves, get it all out of their system. And I knew one way or another it wasn't going to ruin me as a person. I'll just stick with chocolate cakes.
I just love your example. I can teach you how to make a great meringue.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that. So, Caroline, now we're really going to dig into it. You've accomplished so much. I mean, let's be honest. You are a winner. You are a star. You are an A player. And for anyone thinking that there's something that's holding you back, or something that you can't do, or something that you're afraid to do, that seems hard to believe. except you're a human being. You're a human being, and you are not, you don't have a shield of armor on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So can you think of a time in your life, you can give an analogy, but a time in your life when there's something that you wanted to do, whether you did it or not, but you were literally terrified or filled with anxiety, just the thought of doing it?
Yeah, doing a live interview on TV.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So when was your first interview on TV? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I've done many interviews, but I would say that coming on USA Global TV and Radio was probably a really, really big fear. And it took me around 10 months before I actually listened to my mentor and booked in. He was getting very angry with me because I kept saying I'm not good enough. And he said, you are. And it was because it was global. I've done local TV and that was, enough, and it was okay. And it was a smallish, thing to do. And I've been in a studio and it's worked, but it's sort of everything that I do, I take very seriously. Even exams, whenever I've got an exam to do, I always get very nervous. I don't even like using the word. I hate the word. I actually ask people to say, can you just say it's an assessment? Then I won't feel so bad and I won't get myself all het up. But that's my anxiety, because everything is always really important. And then when I do it, I seem to do it really well. And I'm always surprised about the fact that whenever I have a challenge and I don't feel that I've got the skill and I'm not good enough, and because I'm human and I have all of those things, it doesn't matter how many years I've been doing the work that I do, I still have those things going on, because we all have that little inner voice that's saying those things to us. And that's being human. Because I have those anxieties, I put in the extra time to prepare. I put in the extra time to make sure that the technical stuff is right, and to make sure that I know what I'm going to talk about, my subject matter. I don't need a script specifically, because, I'm very open. You ask me a question and I know what I'm doing. So as long as I know what I'm going to talk about, my topic, I'm going to be okay. But it's usually, for me, it's the technical side. And I never really thought that I could do that. And there were many times that I spent hours and not getting it right, and close to tears to say, I'm just not good enough. I can't do this. And it was really Dr. Jacalyn's support and mentorship that gave me the courage, because I felt discouraged. And that's the big thing, that we feel a level of discouragement. And it's almost like when we get to the point of letting go, saying, I just can't do this, that it's at that point when there's only a few steps more to go to triumph and to victory. And so many times this thing about being discouraged about not getting the results is the difference between getting the result and not coming up to getting all the things that we want to achieve. And so it is certainly discouragement that holds a lot of people back, and it certainly has held me back on occasions. And then there's other times that I just say, well, I'm going to have a go, and if it doesn't work, it's okay, because the other side of it is fearing of failure. And what holds a lot of people back is they don't want to fail, and so they don't have a go. And I certainly have been victim of not doing things because I don't think that I can do it, achieve it. And so I hold myself back, because if I fail, I don't want to look silly.
There we go. There's the word silly. And that's what usually comes up for us. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want other people to judge me and think that I'm inept or incompetent. And yet, if we don't take that opportunity, we have no idea what we're missing. Now, I just gave an example, which I'm not really sure where that was going, but I think something good's going to come from it. So thanks for your transparency. I appreciate that. It's tough, but the thing that we really miss out on, we have these blinders. I think they're called horse blinders. And we just continue down the same path. And meanwhile, if we had opened another door, we have no idea where it could have taken us. So to give you an example, when I was in corporate, I knew I just wasn't in the right place. And you and I have talked about this, but the money was so good. The benefits were so good. The travel, the 5-star resorts. And, you think of giving all of that up, and it's what you've known. It's sometimes, I hate to say this, but I will, it's who you are. You become this action plan. You become this behavior. You're no longer even your job, your career. And so to think of giving all of that up, what would become of me? And then having a plan of action, and then the plan of action doesn't succeed because there's a pandemic. So it's interesting, but had I not done that, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here with you. We wouldn't be doing this.
And that is fascinating, isn't it, Dr. Jacalyn, that things change. I mean, we had a world change. The whole thing just completely imploded on itself. And there were many people, the term that I kept hearing was pivot. People pivoted. And that was the word I kept hearing. It suddenly became a thing, well, you haven't pivoted yet, or you've done a great pivot job, and pivot was many people that did well literally stopped doing the face-to-face and went online. And so their businesses just completely exploded. I was very active in an organization, a peace organization. And there was a training for pastors and ministers, and I was being put forward for that training. And they usually get about 20 people, and they couldn't run it obviously because everything was shut down. And so they put it online, and they went from their normal 20 people to 200 people the first time. And then they ran these conferences where you would go to Singapore, I think it was Singapore, and they would get, a couple of thousand. They actually got 2 million people online. They just completely exploded. It was almost like it was a gift to them. And me, I was like folding my arms saying, I'm not going online. I'm not doing that, because I was very much focused on the face-to-face, and it took me a lot of energy and commitment in terms of saying, okay, I'm going to have a go with this. I'm going to go online, because the technology was definitely holding me back, and my adaptability to have the right technical things around me, a new laptop, because I was still working with a 13-year-old computer. I kid you not. And then it completely collapsed. And so I had a technical friend that said, right, you need some help. You need a laptop. So I'm not doing a laptop. So she found a red one for me.
Wow, that's cool.
Because she was very technical, and she said, I know you'll like this. And that what happened after I got the laptop, and I literally set up the laptop with her, that I suddenly got invitations to speak at conferences online, and I started to speak to people in places like Nigeria and different parts of Africa, and very established women, and that would never ever have happened if I hadn't got the tech sorted out. So for me, one of the things that's held me back constantly and continues to is the technology, because I never feel good enough or brave enough with it, and I keep pushing myself, and when I push myself, I'm always amazed at what I can do versus what I didn't think was absolutely possible at all. And certainly I remember the time when I couldn't do the shows with you, a specific show, because I didn't have a green screen. And it took me quite a while to get over that. And it was that I felt discouraged. And then eventually, with your support, Dr. Jacalyn, I managed to get it right. So it is about asking questions and seeking the support that you need, because you don't need to know everything. And that's the thing with a lot of women that are successful, that we believe we have to have all the answers, and we don't.
And congratulations, because you did dive right in. You were very afraid in the beginning, and now look at you. I mean, it's incredible. And how empowering is it knowing that you can set up tech? You could take it and go some other place like you already did when you moved, and you don't have to have that fear. It's liberating.
Well, do you remember last week I shared with you, I took pictures of my little tech
Yes,
studio,
I
my
love
home
it.
studio, and that's because it is a place of pride that I have, that an accomplishment that I wanted to show my lovely mentor. You know, look at what I've done, you know, from home, and I didn't even know how to get a ring light, how to set them up, or any of those things, you know, just the very simple things. But you don't know what you don't know. And this is the thing that I would honestly say in terms of what holds people back. A lot of people believe they have to know everything in order to be able to achieve their goals. And it's when you find the right people to support you, get the right people around you, the right peers and mentors and trainers, you know, if you feel you need to do a course, because when you get those people around you, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And when you have the right setup in terms of people that want to see you succeed, you will be surprised who you will attract. You become a magnet because they need you as you need them in different ways. And it's quite amazing because it's how synchronicity works. I needed to go online and suddenly I get a global platform, because one of the things I want to do and I wanted to do back then was to help people overcome and to be able to handle their stress, anxiety, and depression, because we had world changes and I needed to change my mentality from doing one-to-one to reaching one to many, many people who would never have seen any of the work that I do unless they came to this channel.
I really applaud you for that, and thank you, Caroline. And on the same place for me with a home studio, imagine if we weren't online, people would have to be literally coming to an office or to a physical studio. And how limiting is that? I mean, I've already done that. I've been part of another entity that everybody had to come into the studio. So you're going to get people who can drive 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. You're not going to get people from all over the world. So I think that that really does give us a way of connecting with people we never would have met or connected with otherwise.
Absolutely. You know, and on that, I would say that one of the other things that prevents me from moving forward is my voice. I never really felt that I had enough to give in a global platform. I thought I'm okay one-to-one and I'm okay in small groups and I'm okay when I speak to a small group of people, you know, on a stage. But when it's global and it's on TV and it's going to be there forever, you know, it's on YouTube and anyone can access it forever, I suddenly had a real fear of not feeling enough, not feeling good enough. And this will be the case for many people when you keep being stretched and keep having yourself be tested in this way. And it's all about the purpose, the goal, the mission. What is it that your purpose is? And if your purpose is bigger than you, and we call it having a big, hairy goal, when the purpose is bigger than you, then somehow or another, the way appears. And my voice became okay. When I got rid of the tech, the voice was open, was okay, and the message came out really easily, and everything just disappeared. The challenges disappeared. And so that's the thing, when the purpose and the mission is bigger than just you and your ego, when you have something to share that will help more and more people, this is when opportunities appear.
And when we think about all the opportunities out there that we know of and we're not even aware of, we can embrace them. Absolutely. We can say, I will not be held back by my fear. I will be open and curious. I love the word curious. I'm curious to find out what else is out there. And something else that comes to mind for me is passion, not in a personal relationship, but passionate about what it is that you do. So if you're not passionate about what you're doing, maybe it's time to look at what's keeping you where you are and where could you go? Where can you envision yourself? Can you see yourself doing something else? And if so, what would that be?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you, because many people just do something for the sake of doing it, for the money. And when the passion comes in, it's about turning something you like, you love, into something that has attraction. It becomes attractive to someone else. I had a mentor quite a number of years ago, Daniel Priestley, who's become very famous now, and he's written a number of books, and he's a published author, and just really, really, a big, entrepreneur and really successful person. And I remember him saying many times that you have your own pot of gold. The thing is, when you're looking at somebody else's pot of gold, you're thinking that it's better than yours, but we all have our own pot of gold. And the reason somebody else is interested in you, because they can see your pot of gold and you can see theirs. But what about if you focus on yours and give the value that you can give, rather than trying to look outside of you to go on to somebody else's adventure, because they're looking at you because they're seeing your pot of gold.
The pot of gold. Yes. Fantastic. Well, I feel like we have given some examples of what is holding us back. Do you think there's anything that we've not covered, I'm sorry, that hold other people back? Maybe we haven't hit on it yet.
Well, there's many, many things that people will find challenging in life in terms of what holds them back. And we could be here, it is a whole session in its own right. Some people, one of the biggest challenges is for a lot of people not feeling good enough or accepting of what's possible. And usually they are limited by their beliefs. They're limited by what they think they can do, or what their peers and family say they can do. So they don't push or press themselves further because they are confined in a space. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, that this is where they fit, and they don't want to look outside of that box. They just want to stay in that place. And it might be the people that are there around, the relationship, the family. And so if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. So it is about words have energy and have frequency. And if we believe something, it is possible. Nike actually came up with anything is possible. You just have to believe. And you can believe anything is possible. And if you believe that you can't do something, then nothing will be possible. If you are surrounding yourself with people that are being very negative around you and saying you'll never achieve much, or you won't be able to do very much, or that's not something you can do, then when we start to take those messages in, then that can hold you back. So the family, relationships, friendships, many times friends will say, oh, you can't do that. That's just not in your remit. You're not clever enough, or you're not talented enough. You haven't got the skills. And if you keep listening to those people, that's their stuff, not yours.
Very true. One more topic I just want to bring up and get your thoughts about, because coming up with a plan of action can look different for each opportunity, for each person. So one thing that I've been doing since I started this platform 2 years and 2 months ago, is that I do my own research. And before I hire someone to do something, I want to make sure that I have as good an understanding of the process as I can. Number one, so I don't get taken advantage of. And number two, so that I'm not dependent on that other person. So in case they decide to go do something else. And this can come to websites. It's as we expand to all these other platforms, etc. And I was telling someone that, and they're like, you don't trust people. And I'm like, no, it's not that I don't trust, because typically I'm dealing with contractors. I don't know them anyway. But it's so that I have a sense of how to do it in case it ever has to be done and there's no one to do it but me. So in my action plan, I have a disaster recovery, which is me. So is that a bad plan?
No, because that's what works for you. So you need to know, you need to learn. And I'm very similar. I need to learn to help me understand. And then when you're recruiting somebody, then they're doing the more of the tech stuff, which you will learn as you go along. But if you don't have any understanding or knowledge of what should be done, then you could just be taken for a ride, and nobody likes that feeling, and so it's important to have some understanding of what you want, so that when you brief them, you actually brief them appropriately and succinctly with, I want these 5 things out of this campaign. Can you tell me if this is achievable and how much it is and by when? And so you're sounding a little bit more authentic in terms of recruiting the right person. And so I think it's really credible and very authentic to be able to do that. Some people just don't have the time to do it. And it isn't so much about trust, it's about confidence. To feel confident in someone. We can all get taken for a ride by someone who's professing to be confident. If you have a little bit of knowledge, then you can see through the fact that they might not be the real deal. And it's very easy to be conned in today's society and today's culture by people saying that they've, bamboozle you with science and with words, where they don't really have the authority because they don't have the education or the skill. And if you have a little bit of skill, it will be easy to catch them out. I know it sounds awful, but I had a conversation with someone very recently who'd had terrible problems with some builders, and she'd spent and given them a lot of money, and she kept feeling unconfident about their results and questioning their results, and she couldn't get rid of them because they'd really become very closely connected into the project, and she'd literally fallen out with them. Now, she was very confident because she knew them, but when she started seeing the results of the work, she wasn't happy. And she had a yardstick to measure it against. She knew what she wanted and she knew what she was getting, and she could see the results, and they weren't matching up to what was suggested that they would do. And this is the thing too, she was avoiding the confrontation, and this is what happened. So she lost a lot of money, didn't get the results, and now spending even more money to get the results that she wants from another person. So it's very important to know what you want and what it looks like, so that you can brief accordingly and get the results that you want.
And results is where it is, right? Finding a solution. And that solution can bring us so much peace, so much personal and professional development and empowerment.
Well, one of my mentors said, as long as you're solving someone's problem, you'll always be paid.
Very true.
There'll be somebody that will buy your services if you are solving a problem. And the question was, what problems are you solving? And that's important. It's a good question, to really cogitate on, what problem am I solving for myself and for my client? And when you know what problem you're solving, then you know that you can attract the right kind of client for that solution.
Very well said. Very well stated. Thank you. Caroline, we've come to the end of our show, and we obviously had no concerns, just the two of us being here as we do on the Listening Mentor. It was another great conversation. Please let people know again how you can help them and the best way for them to reach you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It has gone quickly. I can't believe how fast our show's gone today. I help people bust their stress, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, behavioral, whether it's a relationship that's giving you a problem. You can reach me on email, nomorestress@live.co.uk, or reach out if you're international, +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. I help you break through the repeating patterns that is causing your stress. So if you can't sleep, if you have a physical, mental ache and pain, reach out. I also offer a introductory 1 hour session for £50. That's 50 Great British pounds, which is incredibly silly as a price. It really is a steal, where I will look at 3 symptoms and break through 3 patterns. So reach out and let's book in that appointment.
Absolutely. That is a gift you're giving people. So, and they can also sign you on LinkedIn as well.
So yes, sorry, LinkedIn and Facebook are my preferred social platforms. Please reach out and connect with me there.
All right, fantastic. We are going to hear from our sponsors, and then we have a brand new show starting right after this. It's The Journey of an Author, and this week's guest is Catherine Grant from Scotland, so stay tuned. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you so much for being here. It was a lot of fun.
It always is. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promise us to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit dianefloydboehm.com. That's dianefloydboehm.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Simon MacDonald. I live in the West Highlands of Scotland, a very beautiful part of the world. Seems a long way from the USA Global TV station. But remember, USA Global TV is worldwide. It's a fantastic platform. And every Wednesday, I come along here as part of the show of the United Kingdom, News and Culture. And it's just like a family reunion each time. It's one of these amazing stations that has such a beautiful, friendly, and intelligent atmosphere as well. And we reach out to an audience in the most unimaginable places. And I came here I don't know, must be over a year ago now. I was introduced by Dr. Philip Chan, and I met Ian Plum-Turner and Helena Chard, who are co-presenters on the show, and then Diane Floyd-Bem came along as well. And I mean, the five of us, Dr. Jacalyn, of course, who is our host and our mentor, has just made this show work so well. Tremendous people, lovely time we have, and we impart a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Nothing's rehearsed. It's all done off the cuff, and it all just gels. And we get great feedback from people coming back and saying how they're enjoying the show. It's lovely to hear, and it's lovely to get that interaction from outside as well. And we're all listeners, and some of us are elevated listeners as well. So we enjoy every second of it, and we hope you do too.